Hello and welcome to the headline reviews. I am Godwin Sunday.
And I am Adewale Olashokbo. It's the 7th of May in the year 2024. We're fast gone into the month already. It seems like yesterday we started with May 1st celebration.
7 days gone.
7 days gone, exactly.
Well, Wale, speaking of the 7 days gone, right now we're looking at also those POS guys right now.
Exactly.
I feel for them. The ultimatum the federal government have given to them right now is that by come July 7th, all POS operators in the country must register with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and this really calls for concern, Wale. So what it implies is that all the POS operators in Nigeria right now are not registered. So if somebody collects my money and run away with it, I cannot trace them to any point. Now, this is heartbreaking to know that a lot of POS operators, little wonders why sometimes you go to use the POS operators and they end up operating you that went to. A lot of people have complained in the country that when they go to POS stations or their posts to do one of two, again, some of these operators, I thought they have a union where they have POS operators as a union. Then if the federal government is saying, hey, I'm giving you till July 7th to go and regularize and get all the formal papers that you, are we saying that POS they become an authorized vendors in the country that one can use to, is this a new industry, like a marketing strategy?
Exactly. I think that calls for a lot of questions, Godwin, because recently there was this popular Nollywood actress, which her name has really escaped my mind right now, came out to talk about the business of operators, POS operators in Nigeria, and she took it from the angle of how there's a collusion between, conniving between the banks in Nigeria and the POS operators. There's no, when you go to ATMs, you hardly find
especially during weekends.
Cash.
During weekends.
Even during the week, once it's 4 o'clock, you rarely find time, or maybe they have 10 ATM services and only 1 or 2 are working there. So she mentioned this comparison as to how it's operating with ATMs and how POS people are taking advantage of that. Should there be no money at ATMs, when you go to a POS, just right beside the bank, you're going to find cash there. So where are they getting their own cash from? But now it's interesting that the government has come out to take action and ask them to be regulated, because regulation is what we look for in our financial system and financial transaction in the country. Just like you mentioned, the issue of illicit funds going around from one place to another, how we show that we monitor and monitor the process of which money is being sent from one person to another, because it's easy. We can say POS is limited, they can't send huge amounts of money and all of that, but still, the transaction going around, we've had cases of people being kidnapped and they are told to bring out their ATM cards where transactions are being used for their ransom. So with all these issues that we want to know whose payment was transacted, where is this transaction going, who is making the transaction. So if we have this, if you fine-tune this, if you like call it industry right now, because I don't know, it's spread all across the world. I remember when call centers in Nigeria was spread across the country at that time, where you had to go and make 20 naira per minute call at the call center. But now we are seeing this. It seems like it has come to stay, but they must be regulated.
But Wale, again, I'm looking at it from another perspective, which is the fact that if we're regularizing POS operators, one, we're asking the question of what happens to the POS, the machine itself, if the POS, the owner of the machine is unable to register by giving the July deadline that's given. Does it mean that the machine automatically becomes invalidated? It will be able to operate within the country? Again, we have issues that borders on a lot of irregularities when it has to do with the service providers of these POS services. We have right now, we have microfinances issuing POS services. I thought by now, as an open market operation of the central bank could be able to comb this exercise and ensure that, A, all POS comes from the bank, and every POS is linked to certain BVN. So that won't say, okay, if it's linked to BVN, now corporate organizations want to get automatically your BVN is linked. So telling POS operators to go get license, it's a little bit finical, because it now brings us back to replication of our regularizational process. We have BVN. At the long run, you still have your NIMSI. For long run, you still have one driving license. You still have what they call it, passport, just to a means of identification. Now, if we have all of this, and still yet we're still saying, hey, POS A, POS B, we can't trace who owns them. It makes it looks as though the bank is taking Nigerians for a ride, if you ask me. So I think they should look out for more modalities to strengthen the POS services, but let it come from the bank.
Exactly, let it come from the back, and we look forward to how they are going to implement the process of getting this done. But also, we talked about the issue of merging all identity, means of identification in the country.
That's another issue for another day.
It's another issue for another day, but it's becoming
a long
too
story.
much. It's becoming too much, and we need to merge it together. We need to have a card that can show means of your identity, your voter registration, your ID card, your business, everything that you do should be able to be
Captured in that card, yeah.
in a single means of identification without having to have a number of them that you carry around when you want to do. But just like you mentioned, it's a huge conversation to be made, and we look forward to that being arranged and being implemented as and when due. We've been talking about the issue of POS so far. Now it's time to go to the headlines. But before we do that, we'll take this quick break. If you're just joining us, this is Headline Reviews. Stay with us.
Welcome back, Wale. So let's begin the headline reviews with the Punch newspaper this morning, where we have the Punch carrying "I must draw blood from you." Ekiti Varsity bully says as she brutalizes fellow students. Well, a video has been making the round now, circulating on social media, shows a female undergraduate at Bamidele Olumilua University of Education, Science and Technology, Ikire, in Ekiti, brutally beating a fellow student with a stick. The video is being displayed on the screen right now. And despite pleas from the victim, the bully was heard saying, "Let me draw blood from you easily or hardly." It sounds like a vampire though, but then I don't know what that implies. That video on the screen. And the incident reportedly occurred on Sunday, the same day the video surfaced on social media, and the witness who filmed the video claimed it happened in the university campus. According to video's commentator, the victim is Ajayi Precious Gloria, while the perpetrator, very popular mass communication student. Let me believe that while this is acting in the old sense, because looking at this flogging a student, a fellow student bullying a student and saying, "I must draw blood from you." Now that's something that we shouldn't take lightly. The school authority needs to swift into action, and knowing fully well that when we graduate students from the university, we graduate them in terms of character and in terms of learning. So if we're looking at all of these characters index which we use to graduate students from our tertiary institution, this really calls for concern. If this is coming from the student of mass communication, our reputable mass communication department, then this really again calls for concern, except we are saying that this is some form of a skit. But then, who was videoing when this act was going on? A fellow student flogging his fellow student, "I want to draw blood from you," and somebody was busy videoing. If this is the case, what was the school authority doing at that point? Is it that there is no security in the entire school premises? That's one conversation on one hand. The second conversation on the other hand, are we saying from Sunday till today being Tuesday, no swift action had been taken to reprimand these students and ensure that disciplinary measures that are made public is being sanctions are being melted on them, so that we can come to a conclusion that the Nigerian university system is not a breeding ground for bullies. It's not a ground where we say A, we preach A and we're trying to exhibit B. We are decent people in our university system, and of course we should uphold that tenet.
Exactly, and watching the video itself, it's very worrisome to see that such a vicious act has been, just like you said, meted on an equal human being such as students that we've seen in this regard. But it cuts across all spheres of life, which is the case of bullying. I must say, it was at this table we discussed the other student, the British secondary school, and now we are seeing this in universities. We've said that this cut across all lives. Even at workplace, you see bullying happening, and we've also seen that this is a case of a female student. Just like the other day, it's not just only boys that get bullied in school, are bullies. So bullying can happen in whatever form or shape there are opportunities for it to bloom, and we've seen it here. But just like you said, what actions are being made to ensure that this will not repeat itself, and those that are happening that are not making it to social media that we can see like this? Because I'm really thankful that there's social media today, because a lot of things happen under the cover and we never get to understand them. But still, some people would question the person that is videoing. Without the person videoing it, we wouldn't get to know about it. But the person was also videoing. The person is also a perpetrator, because the person, wherever the person, he or she, could have actually intervened to stop this action from taking place. But also looking at the broader issue of bullying in Nigeria, what do we need to start creating laws to ensure that, or implementing the ones that we have already? I mean, when some people are sanctioned or schools are closed down or departments is closed down for a number of months, then the students or the administrators of the department or the school will make sure that discipline is instilled in students right while they are still in school. Because once you graduate, you walk into a larger society where if you continue with this action of bullying, you're going to cause a wider spread of violence than you can do while you are in the confined environment of a school. But I just think the school regulators have to do their own bit, while the government and the police as well, because this is not just a case that the school have to do within the confine of the university or the college where this happened. The police itself have to come out and be a part of this investigation to make sure that this person, I'm sure the person is above 18 and can be prosecuted and be jailed if found wanting and sanctioned accordingly by the court. But the conversation will still continue to happen.
But when you look at this video critically, it's even happening within confines where you have youth and young people. You know, we live in a funny generation right now, where we see where accident happens, instead of people to come to the rescue of the victims, people pick up their phone and begin to snap. People do selfie and they are proud of it, that I was there when it happened, just to show off. I don't understand. If in the presence of students, more than 15 students were there, or youths young people were there, and this bullying exercise, except it's a collaborative effort put together by this old student, or let me assume it's a skit, Wale.
We can't actually say, but just to give a point, it's really a trying time we really are right now with the advent of social media and how people want to trend, how people want to be part of what's happening on social media. So when they see things like this, an opportunity for them to make a video and then gather tens of thousands of views on their social media platform. But that's another thing. Another case I want to mention is about the issue of bullying or bullying itself, the act itself. Once you see somebody bullying someone, it takes very bit of courage for you to intervene. And those are things that we need to begin to teach young people, or even people across all walks of life, that how can you intervene or act when you see something like this happening? How can you make sure that you pacify, you try to make sure that the situation is resolved? Because it takes a lot of courage to see somebody beating somebody and then you want to intervene. There might be thousands of people. When we see more about jungle justice, the people doing the act itself, there might not be up to 10, and you see hundreds of people around just watching and say, I don't want to be a part of it. It takes courage, and we need to build courage among people to ensure that when you see something that is wrong going on, it takes just one person to say, stop what you're doing, I'm not a part of it, and I would not stand to witness it being done. Then we can have other people to join them. But the conversation will continue.
As
we look forward.
We look forward. Say, God will help us.
God will help us, but we look forward to what the security operatives
let's move
will
on.
do.
Let's move on
To our next story from the Leadership newspaper. The Federal Road Safety Corps in Rivers State has begun the sensitization of motorists, especially commercial drivers, on the dangers of carrying fuel in their vehicles while driving on the highway. The sector commander, Christopher Kuje, flagged off the exercise at the Omagua along the Port Harcourt Owerri Road in the Kwere local government area of the state. Speaking to newsmen after the exercise, Kuje said the essence of the sensitization was to create awareness on the dangers of carrying fuel in jerry cans by commercial vehicles. He stated that the Federal Road Safety Corps decided to embark on the exercise following rising cases of road traffic crashes where vehicles were burnt to ashes. I think this is coming at the right time because right now we are witnessing the scarcity of petroleum in the country, and of course the hike. Whenever there's a hike in prices, there's always a reaction, a chain reaction, which is scarcity, which we see. Then we see people sell in black market with jerry cans, and people go ahead to buy. Or even where there are no scarcities, people go to the filling station to buy into jerry cans, and there's been a lot of sensitization for a very long time to tell people that you're not allowed to buy in jerry cans and you put it in your car. Even though you put it in your boot, you should be able to put it inside your tank to ensure that you're not exposed when should accidents happen. Have not witnessed, but I've seen cases where people on Okada just selling petroleum and they're carrying it on their chest, and when they're going on the way, accident happen and then it burn their whole body and people burn to death. So this is a step in the right direction. I hope people listen.
But while speaking of step in the right direction, I just hope also that people listen. But then, does the road safety have that power to prohibit carrying of fuel in vehicles? Now, these are the kind of questions we need to start asking. If the road safety has this function, what then is the function of the vehicle inspection organization, which is like the VIO? Now, what then is the Nigerian police function? Are we having conflict of functions within the Nigerian agencies, ministries, and State House? Of course, these are conversations for another day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Wale, at this point, it being signaled by the producer that it's time to run. Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on the headline reviews for today, Wale.
Exactly. It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope everybody that has been warned would heed to the warning and ensure that violence is not approved, and people holding petroleum in their vehicles and on Okadas should stop it because you don't want to get burned to death.
I thought you wanted to say the filling station should release.
And the filling station as well, do not hold for us and release it to the people. My name is Adewale Alashokwo.
And I am Godwin Sunday.
I needed to help you pronounce that. Thank you so much for being a part of today's conversation, and we hope you enjoyed it. You can also be a part of it by telling us what your views are right on our social media platforms appearing on the screen right now. Tweet at us, Facebook, Instagram, all our social media platforms are there for you to air your opinion about the conversation. Until we come your way tomorrow again, please do well to stay up to date with the news.